everybody. Welcome to Outpost Gray. I'm your host, Jack Scott. And if this is your first time here, I want to welcome you. You will not be disappointed with the content that I provide you. What I do is every Thursday, I will do live streams, typically from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, this episode is a little bit different because I'm traveling, so it is a pre-recorded show. And then on Fridays, every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I provide you with the Cyber Fed News Roundup, which is a summarized report of what is going on in the cybersecurity space, specifically for federal. And a friendly reminder for anybody who doesn't know and you're new here, Outpost Gray is in collaboration with Grant Thornton, and all of the content here are of my own amazing thoughts and no reflection of Grant Thornton's thoughts or opinions. Social media branding, is it really worth the effort? Some would say yes, some would say no, some don't even have social media platforms, yet they're still successful. But what I'm gonna do is teach you today how to be able to leverage branding to create the life that you want. And I'm going to specifically focus on the LinkedIn platform. This was a discussion that I presented to the City of University of Seattle, and it was for the Google Developer Student Club. So I hope that you will enjoy it. Let's get into it. I'm Jack Scott, and I'm going to be talking to you all today about branding. I'm going to do overarching understanding of branding with a little bit deeper dive into LinkedIn. Now, the tips and tricks that I'm going to provide to you today, you can use them along other platforms, but they are specifically for LinkedIn. I always like when people do quotes of like random people. I'm like, but I have a lot of knowledge, so I'm just going to do my own quote. And here I'm really just trying to express that we live in a world of technology all around us. This right here, we can make money leveraging this technology. And we've seen millionaires being able to leverage technology. And with a brand, you're leveraging technology in a different way to create the future that you want. So we're going to be talking about how you can do that. So what are the top 4 reasons that you need to brand? Negotiation. Okay, with a brand, with having, and it doesn't matter if you have 20,000 followers or if you have 2,000. When you are active on LinkedIn and you are showing your worth and you are delivering quality content, you are then creating trust with your followers. And a lot of individuals get jobs because of their network. It's called the hidden job market. When you have a brand, it starts having people start reaching out to you because they see you as an influence. They see you as somebody that knows a particular topic within, let's use cybersecurity as this example here. Having a brand allows you, when you go into a job interview, when you're doing a negotiation for your salary, this gives you a little bit of a chip to put down to leverage to give you power to negotiate for the job. Also, people come to you for jobs a lot of times. I've witnessed this in my own experience and my fellow influencers. They don't have to look for jobs. If anything, they have too many jobs coming to them, and they're the ones telling the employer the salary that they're going to be paid. The next thing, and I mentioned this briefly, is it creates trust. With the brand, you are being consistent and you need to deliver quality versus quantity. So say you're posting twice a week. That's the base minimum for LinkedIn is twice a week. Well, when you're doing that and you're either doing it by sharing somebody's article with good content at the top of that post, or you're sharing your own articles in your own blogs or your own videos, you're establishing trust and credibility with your followers. They're starting to see that you know what you're talking about, that you're staying abreast of the changing environment within, say, the federal space. I'm big on the federal space. So when there's a big like executive order came out in May of last year, I did a live stream about it. And then I wrote a blog about it within 24 to 48 hours. That kind of stuff creates trust with your followers. Another reason is networking. I mentioned it a little on the negotiation number 1, but the hidden job market. Why this is so important is by having a brand, people are going to start reaching out to you. I haven't had to reach out to anybody on LinkedIn to ask them to come and connect with me. For the most of the time, when somebody connects with me, I will send them a personalized message and I will ask them, I'll tell them, welcome to my community. Is there anything that I can do for you? We live in a virtual space. Networking in the past before COVID was very much the cocktails, the in person. You don't have to do that anymore. You don't even have to have long conversations over a Zoom call or virtual call. You can connect with these individuals by a simple DM. And if you stay consistent with it and you message them maybe once a month, you'll be surprised at how you'll be able to start networking and growing your network and then growing your sphere of influence within this space. And then the last thing is financial value. Let's talk about big names: Coca-Cola, Deloitte, Grant Thornton. When you think of organizations like that, you think of, oh no, better one, Elon Musk. What do you think of? Tesla. I mean, it, his brand shows the financial value behind it. When you see some of these influencers that are delivering quality content, they have a financial value behind them. When you first start creating a brand, it's going to be hard to ask people to pay you to do speaking engagements or podcast interviews if that's what you want to do. But eventually, what you'll do is, I guarantee it, to get Elon Musk on a podcast or something, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know what his rate is, but I've seen people that they can charge a certain amount because their brand has created a financial value behind it. This is also similar when an organization wants to hire you. You are a value to them. They will pay you a certain set salary because of your brand, because they see so much value within your brand. Now, what are the top 4 reasons why you won't create a brand? And I thought this was really important because I always, especially in the cybersecurity technology space, we have a lot of introverts in the space. I'm actually extremely introvert. I'm ambivert, so I can be outgoing. But a lot of people, it's terrifying to put yourself out there. So one of the first things is going to be fear. It's going to be the fear of being ridiculed for saying something wrong. Well, you know what? Fun fact, it's going to happen. However, it's going to happen in the fact that you're going to say something wrong. Being ridiculed, I haven't been ridiculed, and I've been public facing, and I started my brand in 2020, and I have not been ridiculed. Have I had mean people, reach out to me and not support me? Of course. And one of the things I always tell myself is Oprah's got haters. So, and I'm like, Oprah, I'm no better than Oprah. So the haters are going to hate. It's okay to have fear. What you have to do is just recognize the fear, understand it, get a group of people that are around you that support you and believe in you 110%, and then still do it. And then if you get haters, you lean on that community around you. Don't let fear stop you from creating a brand. The next thing is, I hear this all the time. Well, I'm not an expert on something. What am I going to talk about? And I promise you, you know more than you give yourself credit for, especially in the technology space. A lot of times we think we're this little tiny ball that's like, this is our knowledge right here, this little tiny ball. But everybody else around us has all of this knowledge within this space. But the real truth is we're all the equal size. We all have a certain amount of knowledge about a specific field within this space. So once you start creating the content, it can be as basic as doing TikTok videos that upload to YouTube that you can share to LinkedIn. For example, doing a 15-second video about password management. Videos like that, the basics, the bare basics, go extremely far. And then once you get going, you'll start learning how to create more content. And that rolls into number 3, being creative. When I first started, I actually started as a writer. I started a blog site. It's not around anymore. And I did that because I was too afraid of putting myself on camera. I was even too afraid to do a podcast. I didn't do a podcast for almost a year after. And it helped me to be able to edit my work in a way that I felt confident with sharing it. If anybody is listening to this and can relate to that, I tell you, go and write. Do 500 words or less, maybe even 250. Your creativity, once you start doing these, well, you'll start seeing articles that come out for news stations, and you'll go, I'm going to write a really quick 250 word about my thoughts on that. And that's all you do. And then you share the article or tag the organization that shared it. And you'll start realizing that you start engaging that right side of your brain, more creative juices start flowing from it. And then the last thing is failure. And there's really no way around this. Failure is a way of learning. Remember, failure is going to happen, but you're not going to regret the things that you try and fail at. You're going to regret the things that you don't try to do. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And my question to you is, what does your profile say about you? Profile pictures are the first thing that people will see. Then they will see your title. But I feel like people worry more about that little title than their actual photo of themselves. So, a couple of things on this: get a current photo of yourself, update your photo. The other thing is quality. You don't want a granular photo. Don't get a photo where I know you had your arm around somebody, but you cut the person out. Get a professional headshot. You can do this inexpensively. Have a friend take a photo of you, get a circular light, put your phone in the center of it. You can make a professional photo. If you take anything away today, update your photo, make sure that it is current, that it is crisp, and that it looks like a clean headshot. It will go extremely far when you're creating a brand for yourself. Everybody's watching this, prepare to take notes, because this is where it's going to get into tips and tricks for LinkedIn when you're making a post on how to engage these followers in the best way possible. I know for me, I don't have a lot of time. So if you're like me and you're like, oh, how can I have the most impactful posts and grow my community with the littlest amount of time? Well, here are some tips and tricks. And the first things is, don't forget that LinkedIn has featured polling. So if you don't have content to share, use the polling feature. Ask your community a question for them to engage you. Once you engage people, LinkedIn's algorithm starts to like you more and they lift you up to the top. Also, topics that help others. Share one of your friends built a project, or maybe they wrote a report. Share that out with the community, tag your friend in it. But sharing stuff that will help others is a great way of growing your community quick. Engage in the first 2 hours. And some ways of doing that, again, polling. You could also do controversial topics. Controversial topics, I'm not talking about political topics. I'm talking about, for example, colonial pipelines. They were CMMC certified. Could this have prevented this breach from happening? And I promise you, so many people will respond because no, that wouldn't have been able to prevent it. Another way, and as we go to the right, think about the left being the most impactful, and to the right, the red is the least impactful. So right here, we've got the posting times. Is this critical? No. However, if you post in the evenings, you're not going to have as much engagement. So why do that if you can post in the mornings and you can have more of an engagement? I always try to post between 8 to 10 a.m. my local time, and I have a lot more success. I know people that are random on their times, and their posts just don't get as many engagements as mine do. So keep that in mind. That's very important. Engage other posts. And I put quality in there instead of putting quantity, because you'll see people go, yeah, great post, thanks. Or they'll put like fire emoji and fist emoji and all those emojis. That's great. You're engaging their content. You're actually just helping them out because their algorithms are showing that you're liking their stuff and you're engaging it. But the way to really engage with people is to be one of the first people to comment on a new post, because you'll be a featured post when other people are scrolling through their pages. And the other thing is, provide a quality comment, 1 to 2 sentences, as if you really read their post, maybe even reiterate something that you saw in the post above. That's going to help you get more engagement. I have gotten so many followers just by posting to the chief, for example. It's an all women executive group. And when I see one of their posts come out, I make a very thoughtful comment and I will get some followers from chief. Hanger sentences. This is where when you go to a post, you see like a few words, but you have to click to see the rest of it. That is a hanger sentence. You'll see when we go to my page and I show it, you'll see where I've gotten some hanger sentences because I want somebody to click, because the algorithm for LinkedIn knows when somebody is on that post for a certain amount of time versus just scrolling by it. And that was not supposed to be there twice. I am very sorry, but there you go. You got hanger sentences twice. You are welcome. All right, moving on. Okay, so now remember, we're moving to the right. So these are the less appealing ones, but can still work for you. Tagging the same people again and again. So tagging people, that's good, but tagging the exact same people over and over again, that's not good. You start annoying the person that gets tagged. I've been this person before where people will just tag me consistently in their posts. And then also the algorithm knows that you're just repeatedly tagging like influencer, famous people, and that will actually impact you in an adverse way. Random content with no purpose. This is where you've got to be consistent and purposeful with your content. Who is your audience? What is your why? Why do you want to create this content? Who's going to benefit from it? For example, majority of my content is cybersecurity. However, I volunteer for a nonprofit called the Special Forces Association of America because I have a military background that I've worked in the special ops. People know this about me. I did a live stream last year during Veterans Day for 5 hours to recognize veterans. I'm very intentional, but it's not something that I share often. I share maybe a few times a month, I share a post from them. So it doesn't confuse my followers, but you need to be intentional with your content. Otherwise, you're just going to be noise on a stream and nobody's going to pay attention to you. Editing post after posting. So with this, if you need to tweak like one or two words, that's awesome, not a big deal. And if you do it right after you post, also not terrible. Where this becomes an issue is if you post something and you realize that maybe a sentence was offensive, or maybe like a couple of things need to be moved around, but there's a lot more changes, and you just post, redo it, because if it's been up for a couple of hours and you try to go in and edit, it's going to drop your post. I've done it myself. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. It's disheartening because I had a post that was climbing, climbing, climbing. I saw something that I wanted to tweak because I thought it would get more engagement. It flatlined and it tanked. So don't edit after you've posted it for a little while. If you do and it's one or two words, that's okay. But outside of that, it'll just mess up the algorithms. Okay, and the last one, and these are things to completely avoid if at all possible. And this is, I was just talking about editing posts after they are posted in 2 hours. So we've got the edit the post after posting, and then the red is after 2 hours. You guys have got that. Over tagging or hashtagging. This is very similar with tagging the same person. Typically, 3 hashtags is the sweet spot. Tagging, you can tag organizations, you can tag individuals, but if you over tag and you put too many in there, it can infect the algorithm as if you're trying to sell something. That's how they will see it. So you have to be really careful how you do that. And then sharing with no content, black or very little. What this means is when you see those individuals that share content and then they do not put anything in the comments section, that actually drives me crazy because I'm like, I could have read that article, or why am I enticed to read that article? All you did is just share it, reshare with a purpose. I always say that, reshare with a purpose. If you're going to reshare something, it goes back to engaging others' posts with quality. You're engaging them, just whoever had that content out there, just in a different way. They see that you're resharing it. Reshare with quality. Put at least 2 sentences in there of why you wanted to reshare this. Maybe even tag them and say, Sarah wrote a great blog on this malware. I highly recommend you reading it. She touched on X, Y, and Z, period. Something like that. And then unprofessional or political. LinkedIn is not a TikTok. It's not an Instagram. It's not a Facebook. It is very professional. However, there is time to time where you'll see people come in and try to drop political talk. I've seen this happen, and people will usually attack those people, telling them to leave the platform. This isn't a political platform. I'm all about freedom of speech. Share the data you want, but I also appreciate that my feeds aren't filled with political talk. This isn't Twitter. I've heard that Twitter can be very volatile. That's not LinkedIn, at least within my community. Everybody is uplifting, and we're sharing continuously cybersecurity information, and we're keeping it extremely professional. So just keep that in mind as you go in and you start posting. So there's so many people out there, especially since COVID started, and people are creating these brands. They are starting to turn to the virtual space. LinkedIn grew substantially because not only, it wasn't solely because brands, it was because people were looking for jobs. So, how do you set yourself apart from everybody else out there? So glad you asked that. 'Cause I'm going to share some tips with you. First thing is going to be authentic. And I know for me, this was really scary because I had a fear that if I was authentic, people wouldn't like me. But if I hid behind my mask and I was who I thought everybody thought I should be, whatever that I thought was, then I would be okay. Then I would be safe. And if they didn't like me, that's cool because I'm not being my real self. I'll be my real self over here, which if you're creating a brand, that will only work for so long. Authenticity is in. It is a thing. I encourage you, be authentic, share that softer side, let them know who you are. You'll start getting a lot more followers, your brand will blow up. And then, and I've touched on this, but it's really important, give back. Like doing this right now is really exciting for me. It refills my cup because I'm giving back to my community. And when you give back into the community, you will start seeing that more and more people will start supporting you and people will want to give back to you. And you're just shining your light really, really bright. So I'm all about, and the other thing for giving back is you don't see a lot of people that are giving back. There are some, I have a lot in my community. I keep them really close, but a lot of people want to take, take, take. So that's how it's going to set you apart by being authentic and then being that person it's not taking, but instead asking, what can I do to help you on your journey? So, how to engage others on LinkedIn. I think this is really important because you can do it wrong, and I've seen it wrong so many times. So, the first thing, don't over message. Oh my God. So, what I mean by this is when you're DM something, when you do a direct message to somebody, don't over message them. If you've messaged them and they have not responded, don't message them a few days later. Give them, the sweet spot is typically 10 days. So I usually do 2 weeks. People are busy. A lot of people don't live on LinkedIn. Message somebody with quality content and then give it 2 weeks. I always like to follow first versus connecting. With a connection, they have to accept you into their ecosystem. When you follow somebody, everybody can follow me and I don't have to decline it or anything like that. What's great about following is you can start seeing my content, you can start engaging me. I respect an individual that does that first before connecting, like tenfold. And I know the people that do it because they'll follow me. I'll see them commenting on my stuff. And then after about a month or two, then they ask me to connect. Follow first, engage them, then connect with them. Engage and provide quality comments. We've already gone over this. I'm not going to harp on this, but this is very important because a lot of people will just like, that doesn't do anything. A lot of people put like a quick, oh, that's great emoji, thumbs up. Okay, that's but really it's all about quality comments. And then use this bell. A lot of people, it's surprising, people don't know about this bell. It's magical, you guys. Use the bell because the bell, like, say there's an individual. Let's talk about Oprah. Love Oprah. I really should follow her on LinkedIn. I don't know why I haven't. Anyway, squirrel. So, Oprah, I would click on that bell. And what I can do is I will know now every single time she makes a post. And what's great about that is going back to that last bullet, I can engage in her content. I can share her content and I also can provide quality comments to her content as soon as they come out. I will be aware of it. It'll show up in my stream. I don't do this to everybody or I'd just be swamped by other people's posts. But if there's an individual, maybe you're seeking out an organization to get employed at, or maybe there's a mentor that you really, really want to have as a mentor, this is a great way of engaging them. And I would follow their content for about a month, 2 months before trying to connect with them. And then even before maybe asking them to be your mentor. Remember, it's just a little bit of a process. And then message with a personalized message. So say you've started to follow him, you turned on the bell. Now you're at the moment of connecting. It's all coming together. Don't fall short by not sending them a personalized message. Again, quality message. So maybe I've given you a couple examples of this, but if I was following somebody and watching their content, I really wanted to engage with the CEO, I might send them a personalized message and I might uh, quote some of the work that they've done in the recent month and say, this article was really inspiring, or this article that you wrote about the CVE was really helpful to our organization and helped us do certain necessary patching to prevent a vulnerability in our space. Um, I would love to do a 15-minute coffee chat with you. I have some other questions I'd love to run by you, something like that to get them engaged. Maybe you don't want coffee, maybe you just want them in your network. You figure that out, but it's all about personalizing it and being authentic when you send them that message. And I mentioned this, but I think this is so important when you're messaging with people. I almost always try to end with asking, how can I better support you? What can I do to better support you in your initiatives and what you're doing? And it throws people off, but I would rather help you out, help you get ahead, because I know that just comes, it always comes back around. I wouldn't be where I am today without people helping me. So that's one of my techniques that really helps, and it helps break the ice and get people to really engage with you. And this is a fun thing, and I'll show it to you when we bring up the LinkedIn profiles to go over. But you can, instead of searching for a name at the top, search for a position, search for a title. It'll bring up individual names. You can go into their profile. If it doesn't say follow, if it only says connect on the side, you can go into their profile and you can start following these people. A great way of doing this is, like, I might want to get to know a lot of CEOs, and my algorithm naturally pulls CEOs in the cybersecurity space. LinkedIn knows that. So I go in there and I can just do follow, 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 follow. I can start building my network that way. Maybe yours is GRC, maybe it's pen testing, something like that. Use that. That'll come up if it's in their title. And then you can start following that. You can start building your content and your network that way. So we're going to do some hands-on. So head over to LinkedIn if you're watching this, because we're going to start doing some things with LinkedIn profiles. And I want you to start tweaking your profile so we can elevate it. Let's go to mine. Okay. So starting from the top and moving down, this banner is so important. This is so much real estate for you all. Use the real estate. A lot of people, you'll hear conflicting advice on using a photo of yourself. I've heard, don't use a photo unless you're like speaking or whatever. Well, I'm sitting on a bench or a stool and I like that photo and I think it's my power stance. So I'm using it and I'm doing what I like. I love it. So that's going there. The other thing, everything else is pretty in line with what people have told me, which is be bottom line up front of who you are, what you do. So I thought about, well, what do I want? Because my Outpost Gray, like I said, Outpost Gray is my brand. I am Outpost Gray. We're one and the same. I want them to know about Outpost Gray. I want them to follow Outpost Gray. I want them to know that I'm in partnership with Grant Thornton. I also want them to know that I have a book, because that creates that trust. So with that, you'll see when you look at this, you immediately know, okay, Outpost Gray in partnership with Grant Thornton, public sector. Okay, follow Outpost Gray on YouTube. Oh, there's the socials on the right, and there's my book. So it's all clear. It's all right there. I've tweaked this several times. This will probably only stay like this for like a few more months, and I'll probably tweak it again. But those are the frameworks that you want. Make sure to use this space. It's critical. Now for the headshot. Now you don't want to change your headshot very often, because this is how people will see you when they're scrolling through their page. So if you change it often, like you would on Facebook or Instagram, they're not going to identify you. Yeah, they might see your name, but a lot of people, you'll notice, you identify them by their profile photo. So just keep that in mind. I did mine a little bit different. I want to stand out. I want you to be able to see mine as you're scrolling. So mine, see if I can pull this up. So mine has cybersecurity, leader, author, speaker, influencer. That's because these are important areas for me. I love to do speaking engagements. I am an influencer. I'm growing my brand. And then I gave them a little bit more information about me to go to my personal website, which ties them into my blog, which ties them into my YouTube channel and all the other fun things, which is iamjax.me. So I put that down there. So if anybody actually enlarges this, which they probably will, that's the other thing, they probably will, because it sticks out, has that purple banner. And then they're going to see that. As far as your title right here, I've heard two different things. I've stuck to this one for the last like 2 years. This is how I roll. I might change it up, but this is all about like future titles that you want to have, leadership things. So for leadership, author, a podcaster, keynote speaker. I have my military experience in there. Tech blogger. I'm also a cyber diva. It does not say that I'm a manager at Grant Thornton. They can figure that out if they scroll below. Now, the other approach that you can do is you can put a sentence here. Like, I am a cybersecurity leader that helps organizations secure their infrastructure and defeat the adversary. Something like that. Whatever works with your flow, go with it. I like this. Super simple. I'm able to put a lot of things in there. Plus, I do a lot of things. Some people, I know it's weird. Some people just have a job. It's a concept. I have a job, another job, a YouTube, a podcast. I want to showcase that. So think about what's going to work for you in your space and what you're trying to accomplish. And then from there, you will see that you have this featured section. I highly encourage you to use this section. This is a great section for being able to highlight specific things that you want individuals to see on your page right away. So you'll see I have a special announcement. This goes to my YouTube channel announcing my partnership with Grant Thornton. This is my podcast called Two Cyber Chicks. I have my book next. This goes into my website, and these are all strategically placed in here for a reason. And then it goes to my blog site, and then I have some other featured items. Critical. Don't waste this space. Definitely use it up. Even if you haven't written an article, if there's an article that you liked, what you can do is you can share that on your page, and then you can actually make it one of your features. Like you can add a post right here from a post that you shared as one of your features. So you're adding a feature of a post you shared to recognize somebody else's work, but it's still one of your features, which is awesome. And then from that, I'll be honest with you, except for right here, the rest of this doesn't matter. My about section is not a resume. Do not make it a resume. Talk about what you're doing. You'll see that mine is all about talking about this space, how we're going to impact this space. This is all about SEO. How are you going to be picked up by that algorithm? The more words that you can use. Now, mine is not SEO specific, but this really, if somebody really wants to get to know me more, they can get in here and use some of those emojis to break up that content, make it flavorful. But the rest of this, I don't know how many people I've talked to, they don't really scroll past this. Like, no, very few, unless you get a person like me, and then it's just, yeah, then I just kind of stalk people out. But I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you did, please message below. Also like and then share this out with others. It would mean the world to me. And again, if you're new here and you haven't yet subscribed, I would encourage you, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all, and I will see you next week.